So in this lesson, I want to talk to you really quickly about the most overlooked gear. This is the gear that I found that I absolutely need. It's what I never leave for any shoots without having these things in my bag. Number one thing is a monitor. And why you want a monitor is A, focus. You actually know if things are in focus. And this is so important because you can't fix focus in post. So why wouldn't you have a monitor? Get away from looking at the small LCD screen. This little piece of garbage here on the back of your camera. The LCD screens on your cameras across the board suck. I don't care what camera you have, they still are very mediocre. Even our FX9, this monitor here, this OLED monitor, they're trash. You need to get an external monitor. It's one of the most crucial pieces of gear you'll have because it's gonna help your focus. You're gonna be able to use false colors and know your exposure better. And you're gonna also know your final frame, what it actually feels like on a bigger monitor, because your audience will always be watching your videos on a bigger monitor, even an iPhone. So it gets you closer to that size frame. Get a monitor, feels like a big investment, but you'll have these for years. And if you have something like the BM5 here from Court Keys, it will last you, I would say, at least a decade, which is longer than most gear. Another piece of gear that you have overlooked is knee pads. I learned this from one of my favorite cinematographers and one of my longtime collaborators, Chris Liu. Having knee pads allows you to get down and get the shot that you want. You may feel like a bit of a dork wearing them, but you can get way better shots having knee pads because you're gonna be more committed to being in places and shooting in ways that you normally wouldn't be ready to do, taking a knee, because you wanna get the good shot, because no one knows if you had knee pads on, but they'll know that you have good footage when they're watching your final film. Another important thing is an Allen key set or any kind of toolkit. I got this off of B&H for about $15, I think, and this has kind of everything that you need. Get one of these Allen key sets. This even has an X-Acto knife, which really helps. You just want to have tools on set, because if your camera, if you need to get a new tripod plate on or anything, there's so many different scenarios where you're going to want some tools. Having them available is important. It's always important to have something that can help you get the shot, and these tools will. Another great tool is a blower. Having dust on your sensor is something that you don't necessarily see even on good sized monitors on set, but when you bring it onto your laptop screen, it's terrible, and it's something that's very difficult to remove. So get a blower, especially if you're out in dusty environments. I'm often traveling overseas. I'm constantly giving my lens a little clean. Another piece of gear. Wow, look at that. Lens pouch is important, but your polarizer. I've been talking about ND filters, but a polarizer, is that changing at all? I can't tell. But you'll sometimes needing to be filmed through a window, or you're filming a lake or anything, like including a sky. A polarizer will help you get either the best color or help remove reflections. There's so many times that I've been traveling without one of these, and I'll be trying to shoot a scene where someone's up against a window, and I'm like, why don't I have a polarizer? They're very affordable, they're very cheap, and they'll help you get the shot you need sometimes. Like you can see this shot from our latest documentary. We have Natasha here in the car driving. That little dark space where you can see her face is because we used a polarizer. Had we not used it, the entire windshield would have been reflective. Another piece of gear that I love is my roller bag. I like this roller bag for a few reasons. One, it just looks like a normal suitcase. So when I'm in countries or I'm traveling through airports where I don't want to be hassled, I don't want to actually have to explain to security or to border guards that I'm a filmmaker, I just have this roller bag and I look like a common tourist. Also too, it's what great is this top piece comes out of this. I'm not sponsored. Low Pro doesn't have anything to do with this course, but I think roller bags are great because it gets something off your backpack. Every YouTube creator out there seems to have their own backpack that they have customized, and they're great, but I want to get the gear off my bag. I don't want my gear exhausting my body. I want my camera exhausting my body. So I use roller bags. I'd rather drag them, or I can get a PA or my translator if I'm in another country. They can drag them, but I get things off my body because I want my camera to tire me out. I don't want my gear that I'm lugging to set to tire me out. A strange piece of gear that I'm going to talk about is bongo ties. Audio guys love these, but what's great about bongo ties is they have this little bongo piece here. I don't know if that's what it's called, but it allows you to create loops, and you can really fasten anything to your camera. I use this to keep my monitor, my sun hood down from my monitor so that my sun hood stays on my monitor. It's great having bongo ties. These are super cheap, and they allow you to attach anything to your camera that you need. And because they have that little bongo piece, this thing right here, this allows you to reuse these rubber bands, and they're really strong. They're super cheap. I recommend getting a bag full of these. The last piece of gear that most people overlook. This is overlooked gear. It's in my audio kit here. It's fashion tape. This is very cheap tape. It looks like Scotch tape, but what it is it's double-sided tape. And the fashion tape adheres to fabric really well. And why you want that is my camera or documentaries where you see the microphone, I don't know, it bothers me. It doesn't really matter, but it makes it look a bit cheap. It makes you remind that you're watching a film. My goal with my films is to make people feel like they're inside another world, that they're not watching a film, that they're immersed in someone's life. So I like to hide the mics right in here, and so we'll tape it in. This scene with Julian here from our latest film, we had the camera buried right behind his t-shirt, and he was wearing a white t-shirt, and you could barely see it. So I like to use fashion tape to bury the mics behind people's clothing. And this way too with the fashion tape, if someone doesn't need a button shirt to hide it, it can be a woman who's wearing whatever type of shirt, you can hide the mic using fashion tape. So those are, in my opinion, some of the most overlooked pieces of camera gear.